Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Ralf Rangnick will not try to persuade Paul Pogba to stay at Manchester United if the midfielder wants to go. Paul Pogba's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to the start of the season, Pogba rejected a new Man United contract offer. Pogba is not available at the moment because Pogba is out with a thigh injury. Pogba's out for the rest of the year. Pogba got the thigh injury in France training earlier on in the season. But he's a big miss for Manchester United because revert back towards the start of the season, Pogba was in scintillating form. Pogba's got 7 assists so far in the league this season. And revert back towards the end of last season, Pogba produced good performances, but at one point last season he was out with a thigh injury for a while, and before he has sustained some ankle injuries at Man United. Paul Pogba has had a long-running transfer saga. He's been relentlessly linked with Real Madrid. His former club Juventus have been in for him. Pogba did endure 4 good years with Juventus before he rejoined Man United. PSG have been in for him before. Barcelona have been in for him. He said earlier on this season that Pogba had been offered to Barcelona, and Inter Milan have been in for him before. Paul Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola, has been working hard now for quite some time to get his client a move away from the football club. This season is Paul Pogba's 6th season at Man United since he rejoined. He's won 3 trophies at the club so far. Manchester United paid $89 million for Pogba, so reflecting on that, is our most expensive signing at the moment. Man United did have Pogba when he was a lot younger under Alex Ferguson, but had to let him go due to limited appearances. Now, I was talking with you about Ralf Rangnick yesterday. Ralf Rangnick told bosses at Manchester United that their midfield is weak in his interview for the job. Ralf Rangnick has a midfield plan at Manchester United. Amadou Haidara, Calvin Phillips and Jude Bellingham are key targets for Ralf Rangnick. Rangnick's already said that he wants Amadou Haidara as his first signing as Manchester United manager. Amadou Haidara has a £33 million release clause. Rangnick, of course, knows the player well because Rangnick used to manage RB Leipzig. Revert back to the other week, the Manchester Evening News said that Rangnick wants a Timo Werner reunion at Man United. Not so long ago, John McGinn was also mentioned. Rudiger was mentioned the other day. It said Manchester United have expressed an interest in Rudiger. Ralf Rangnick has been given a £100 million transfer budget for January. I presume we can get quite a few players out of that. But Rangnick is Manchester United's interim manager until the end of the season, and then after that it said Rangnick will take a consultancy role for a further 2 years. if Rangnick does well as the interim manager for Man United, there's a chance that he'll get the Man United job on a permanent basis. The game today against Norwich is Ralf Rangnick's first Premier League away game as manager. So far, Rangnick has managed 2 games in all competitions. He's won 1 and he's drawn 1. Before Manchester United, Rangnick was the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow. I can assure that Manchester United will get a permanent manager at the end of the season. Obviously, there's been quite a few names linked with a permanent role at Man United. Obviously, Erik ten Hag has been linked with the permanent role at Man United. Revert back to the other day, Edwin van der Sar spoke about Manchester United's interest in Erik ten Hag. And Edwin van der Sar believes Ajax may lose Erik ten Hag in the summer. Revert back to earlier on in the season, it said Erik ten Hag is said to be interested in the Man United job in the summer, and Ajax will not stand in his way if he wants to leave at the end of the season. As for Edwin van der Sar, he expects a Man United role in the future. I'd love to see Edwin van der Sar come back. You know, Edwin van der Sar is a former Man United goalkeeper. He endured 6 years as a goalkeeper for Man United. Edwin van der Sar is the CEO of Ajax. He's worked as a CEO at Ajax since 2016. Roberto Mancini, he was mentioned the other week. The Metro said that Manchester United consider hiring Roberto Mancini instead of Mauricio Pochettino, but recently Roberto Mancini denied becoming Manchester United's next permanent manager. Mancini is in charge of Italy. He's been in charge of Italy since 2018, so he's been with them for almost 4 years. Revert back to last summer, Mancini won the European Championship with Italy. He's got a contract with Italy till 2026. Around a decade ago, Mancini managed Man City, and when he managed Man City, he won the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Community Shield. Mauricio Pochettino's obviously been spoken about. I still believe he's the favourite to become Manchester United's next permanent manager. Revert back to earlier on in the season, Pochettino did come out and say a few times that he's happy at PSG. And it did mention that he won't let the Man United rumours distract him. Revert back to earlier on in the season, it did mention that PSG rejected Manchester United's approach to appoint Mauricio Pochettino. But there was reports coming out saying that Pochettino's interested in the Manchester United job. And the Manchester Evening News came out and said that Man United are confident of appointing Mauricio Pochettino as the next permanent manager. And it did say that Man United agreed to pay the $10 million compensation fee for Pochettino. Revert back to when Manchester United sacked Jose Mourinho. Manchester United should have got Pochettino then, but the club decided to go with Solskjaer instead. Pochettino is a good manager, even though he's hardly won anything. I think he has won a French Cup with PSG. He's got a full season left on his PSG contract. He's proven in the Premier League as well, which is beneficial because before Pochettino managed Tottenham and before he managed Southampton. Revert back to earlier on this season, Brendan Rodgers was also mentioned. But I initially disregarded Brendan Rodgers becoming Man United's next permanent manager because earlier on in the season, Brendan Rodgers dismissed links to the Man United job and he came out and said that I'm proud to be at Leicester. Manchester United have sacked 4 permanent managers since Ferguson. You know, Manchester United sacked David Moyes after 10 months. Then Manchester United sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years, despite him winning the FA Cup. Then Manchester United sacked Jose Mourinho after like 2.5 years. Mourinho did win 3 trophies in his first season, so he did enjoy one good season at Man United. And over 2 weeks ago, Manchester United sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer following the 4-1 defeat to Watford. Manchester United are going to offload players next year. Anthony Martial, I gave you the news on him yesterday. Martial's agent has confirmed that Anthony Martial wants to leave Manchester United in January. Obviously, he's demanding more game time. Martial has only started 2 games in the league this season for Man United. Martial's actually got an injury at the moment. Martial is not good enough to represent the club. I think he's only enjoyed one good season at Man United. That was his debut season under the Louis van Gaal era. Martial's been at Manchester United for around 6.5 years. Martial has got 3 years left on his contract. Martial has scored 79 goals in 268 appearances for the club in all competitions. Manchester United paid an initial fee of 36 million for Martial. It rises up to around 57 million with add-ons. Martial doesn't really get in our team, does he? Edinson Cavani, I think he's also leaving Manchester United next year. I heard that Cavani's interested in making a move to Barcelona. Well, recently he said that Barcelona are keen on signing Edinson Cavani in January, but only for a modest price. Cavani's contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to May, Cavani signed that 1-year contract extension. Cavani initially lost his place in the team when the club re-signed Ronaldo last summer. Manchester United got Cavani on a free transfer from PSG. You know, this season is Cavani's second full season at Man United. Cavani's got a good pedigree behind him. You know, look at the amount of silverware he won at PSG before he came to Man United, and he was a long-serving player at PSG. Cavani's out with injury at the moment, by the way. He had an injury earlier on this season. Jesse Lingard, I think he's also leaving the football club next year. I'm hearing that Newcastle want Jesse Lingard, and I heard Newcastle are preparing a contract offer. Revert back to earlier on in the season, it said West Ham want to re-sign Lingard. At the second half of last season, Lingard enjoyed a 4-month loan spell with West Ham and he made an impact. And I heard as well at one point that Lingard wants to go abroad. The BBC said earlier on this season that Jesse Lingard's future at Man United is in doubt after talks over a new contract collapsed. Lingard's contract at Man United expires next summer. If we sell Lingard in January, I reckon we can get around £10 million for him. Lingard doesn't really get in the team, does he? He's only started 2 games this season. He did recently start against Young Boys, and I thought he was poor against Young Boys. Lingard's been part of the club for a long time, risen up our academy in that, and he's had his good periods at Man United. He's also had his bad periods. Juan Mata, I think he's also leaving the club next year. Mata's contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to earlier on in the year, Juan Mata signed a 1-year contract extension. Can't understand why we extended his contract for the further year. Mata doesn't really get in the team, does he? And he's lost that yard of pace and he's ageing up. But despite that, I reckon that he's had a good career at Man United. Mata's made over 200 appearances in all competitions and he's scored over 50 goals. And he's been a long-serving player at Man United. He's been at the club for 8 years. Surprisingly, Mata started against young boys recently. Manchester United got Juan Mata from Chelsea back in 2014 for 40 million. Donny van de Beek, he could also leave in January. I think the only way we can persuade Donny van de Beek to stay is if he gets the opportunities he's been demanding under Ralf Rangnick. Van de Beek did recently start against young boys and he put a good performance out in that game apart from the poor pass that led to the young boys' equaliser. In the game against young boys recently, Van de Beek was playing in an unfamiliar role. Obviously he was the holding midfielder. But revert back to when we had Solskjaer, Van de Beek was getting nowhere near enough starts, and reflecting on that, Van de Beek was frustrated. Van de Beek's only scored 2 goals for the club and he's been at Manchester United for over a year and a half. This season has been Van de Beek's second full season at Man United. Man United got Van de Beek for 40 million with add-ons included. Van de Beek's got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further year and Van de Beek's versatile. He can play in 3 different roles. You know, Nemanja Matic, I think he's also leaving next year. Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he still seems to get his opportunities and surprisingly enough, he's been ahead of Van de Beek in our midfield. Matic is the only predominant centre defensive mid Man United have got. Matic played against young boys recently. He surprisingly started as a centre-half. I don't think he'll be deployed as a centre-half again. He was poor against young boys. He gave the ball away in that game a lot. Matic has been at Manchester United for 4.5 years. Man United got Matic from Chelsea back in 2017 for around £40 million. Paul Pogba, could be going next year. Our second choice fullbacks, Telles and Delors, I think could be going next year because they only really seem to play when our first choice fullbacks are available, and that's obviously Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. Jones and Bailly, I think they're leaving next year, and Dean Henderson has confirmed that he wants a loan move away from Man United next year. Obviously, revert back to last summer, De Gea reclaimed that number 1 spot back, so obviously Henderson doesn't get in goal much. Henderson was in goal recently against young boys, but that was only his second appearance this season. Revert back to earlier on in the season, Henderson was out with COVID for a while. Towards the end of last season, Henderson got the number 1 jersey and he did well in a lot of the games he was in goal for last season. So there you go. But you know what? There is very, very good players at Manchester United, and I am convinced now that we're going to get the best out of these group of players under Ralf Rangnick. It was a good team performance against Crystal Palace last weekend. Weren't that good of a performance against young boys recently, but obviously Ralf Rangnick heavily rotated in that game because obviously it was a meaningless game because Manchester United are already in to the last 16 of the Champions League. But look who we've got in the team. We've got Mason Greenwood. That's a talented player. Greenwood obviously scored a very good volley against young boys in midweek. It was a good cross by Luke Shaw to find Greenwood in the 6-yard box. Greenwood got the assist for the Fred goal in the game against Crystal Palace last weekend. Greenwood came on in that game. Greenwood at one point was out with COVID for a while. Most of the time when Greenwood starts, he plays on the right wing. There again, though, he's played up top quite a few times. At one point, Greenwood went a while without scoring, but despite that, he's been a revelation since he broke into our senior squad. Greenwood made his senior debut for Man United back in 2019. He's been a United player since the age of 7, so he's been part of the club for a long time. And last season, Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract. Jadon Sancho, he seemed to have done well since Solskjaer got sacked. Sancho obviously didn't play any part against Young Boys recently, but he played against Crystal Palace last weekend and he put a good performance out in the first half, faded away in the second half. Weren't too bad in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. Sancho was very good in the games against Villarreal and Chelsea because he scored in both of them games. Sancho has scored 2 goals for the club so far. But revert back to when Man United had Solskjaer, we couldn't get the best out of Sancho because Solskjaer was persistently playing him out of position. And there was quite a few games Sancho didn't even play in under Solskjaer. But it's just good to see now that Sancho's starting to settle in. Sancho did endure 4 good years at Dortmund before he signed for Man United. Man United got Sancho for 78 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around 73 million up front. Sancho's got a contract with Man United till June 2026 as an option of a further year. Manchester United, of course, have got the best player in the world overall in Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, Ronaldo didn't play any part against Young Boys. He did play last weekend against Crystal Palace. He had chances against Crystal Palace, but unfortunately couldn't convert them. Ronaldo was a doubt for the game against Crystal Palace last weekend because prior to the game, he said Ronaldo was suffering a knee issue. He said he got the knee problem when he was celebrating in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. Ronaldo got a brace in the 3-2 win against Arsenal, including the winner from the penalty. Ronaldo now has 801 goals in his career, and he scored 12 goals for Manchester United in all competitions since he re-signed. Ronaldo has got back-to-back awards as well since he re-signed. Revert back to October, Ronaldo got named Player of the Month. And revert back to September, he got named Premier League Player of the Month. Ronaldo has won over 30 trophies in his playing career, including 5 Ballon d'Ors. Ronaldo's got a contract with Man United till 2023. There's an option of a further year. Ronaldo receives 480 grand a week. He wears a number 7 shirt, and Man United got Ronaldo for around 19.8 million with add-ons included. Marcus Rashford, he's a good player overall, but he has enjoyed his poor games at Man United. Rashford, I thought, was poor against Crystal Palace last week. He weren't that good in the 3-2 win against Arsenal, but he still managed to get an assist in that game. He was good in the second half, though, in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea, to be fair. At one point, Rashford was out with a shoulder injury for a while, and at one point, he had to have an operation on his shoulder. Didn't he? Rashford's been part of the club for a long time. He's been a United player since the age of 7 and he's been in our senior squad since 2016. Rashford's got a contract with the club until 2023. And like I said earlier, Edison Cavani's a good player. Bruno Fernandes, he's also an exceptional player as well at Man United. Despite him being an exceptional player, Fernandes has enjoyed his poor games this season. But there again, Fernandes has enjoyed a lot of games where he's been consistent at Man United. Let me put into the equation that Fernandes starts the vast majority of Manchester United's games. Fernandes played against Crystal Palace last weekend, had chances but unfortunately couldn't convert them, just like Ronaldo couldn't in that game. Fernandes did score in the 3-2 win against Arsenal the other week. He put a good performance out against Arsenal. Fernandes is one of our best players and he's one of the best signings we've made since Fergie retired. Fernandes has been a Manchester United player for almost 2 years. We got Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon back in January 2020. Revert back to earlier on this season, Fernandes did make it clear that he wants to stay at Man United. And when he first came to Man United, he said, "I've come to Manchester to win trophies." Fernandes has got a contract with the club until 2025. There's an option of a further 12 months. Revert back to earlier on in the season, there was talks about Fernandes extending his contract. That's when obviously Man United had Ole. Donny van der Beek, he's also a good player as well. That's when he plays, but I haven't had a great deal of a perception on him at Man United. Pogba, he's a good player. Fred, he's done really well in recent weeks. Fred was very good against Palace last weekend, scored a stunning goal late on. It wasn't only the goal why he was good against Palace, his overall performance was good. His movement was good. He got forward well, his passing was sublime, and he got in some very good positions. Fred was good against Arsenal the other week because he got an assist in that game and won the penalty. And he did well in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea. I'm hoping Fred can continue with these good performances, and then my perceptions will start to change on him. Man United got Fred for around 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk a few years ago now. I think Alex Telles is also a good left back. Telles didn't play any part against Young Boys recently because obviously Luke Shaw made his return. Luke Shaw come back from a head injury. Prior to the Young Boys game though, Telles started Manchester United's last 4 games and he was very, very impressive. Earlier on this season, Telles had an injury. The reason Manchester United brought Telles in was to provide competition for Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw's a good left back overall, but he hasn't really proven how good he can be so far this season. To be fair, he wasn't bad against Young Boys recently. He got forward well, got in some good positions, and he got the assist for the Mason Greenwood goal. But Luke Shaw's been poor in a lot of games this season, when he has been fit. And I'm shocked in that aspect because last season Luke Shaw was superb. I'm sure as the season goes on he'll regain his form. Diego Dalot, he started Manchester United's last 2 league games and he did really, really well. Dalot played in the 3-2 win against Arsenal because Bissaka had a hand injury. Bissaka picked up an injury at the end of the game against Young Boys and it said he's a doubt for the game against Norwich today. I'd like to see Dalot start today, to be honest with you. Eric Bailly, he's a good centre-half as well. Varane's a good centre-half, but Varane is still out with a hamstring injury at the moment. It's the second injury he's endured at Man United because revert back to earlier on this season, Varane had a groin injury and he was out with that groin injury for a few weeks. Bissaka, good defensively, but the attacking side of his game is not so good. That Anthony Elanga looks a good asset for the first team squad as well. I said a while ago that Amad Diallo looks a good asset for the first team squad. We've got David De Gea, that's a very, very good goalkeeper as well. So yeah, Man United have got very, very good players. So anyway, I'll be back on for the match reaction after the Man United Norwich game. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.